Alright, Advanced Bio, what you're going to be looking at doing on Monday is you're going to be working on doing a rapid pathogen activity, which is going to be tracking a pathogen, an unknown pathogen through a population. Now, here's just kind of a quick example of what you're going to be doing for Monday. You have attendance. Make sure you guys check your announcements. But what you're going to do is go to the viruses and bacteria homepage on my Google site. So I'm going to bring my Google site up. Under the Advanced Bio, you are going to go down to viruses and bacteria, and then you're going to go to the rapid pathogen activity. Okay, what should pop up is this rapid pathogen activity. I'm going to walk you through it here in just a second, but if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, there is a new, it says rapid pathogen scenario. So this is what you're going to select. Okay. Now what you're going to do, you are going to read the scenario, and it's alright if you want to work with a friend, but each person needs to create their own flowchart of a particular pathogen. Okay, so if you go ahead and you read through this scenario, in a hot and humid July in Washington, D.C., the presidential race is heating up. Okay, so on and so forth. You keep reading through this. On day one, you've got some people that you want to take a look at. There's Bob, Lupita, Felix, and those are the only individuals you need to worry about on day one. Bob, Lupita, and Felix. Okay, read their situations, read and understand a little bit about them and what they may be suffering from. Ideas, examples. You want to collect some background information. So in this example, you are going to be kind of like a CDC, Center for Disease Control individual. You may even be a portion of a doctor. You want to figure out a little bit about them. Okay? Then you go on to day two. What's happening day two? Bob, Lupita, and Felix. Oh, all of a sudden we got two brand new patients, Lionel and Naomi. Okay, and you could also even take a look at the pond is going to be happening. Now, if I go back to my website here under the rapid pathogen, there is this document. So here, rapid pathogen situation is, if I read through it, you look at each individual person in the scenario. So our first person we're looking at was Bob on day one. What you want to read a little bit about Bob. Figure out what was he suffering from, what are some symptoms, is there anything that we can do for him, what was he looking at, what's going on, what's happening on day two, what's happening on day three, each for this person, each for Bob. Then you're going to do the same thing for Lupita, same thing for Felix, same thing for Lionel, same thing for Naomi. You want to figure out what's happening each day. You want to figure out what kind of symptoms they're suffering from, what type of treatments they're suffering from, maybe a disease, or in how you can maybe treat that disease. Okay? Now, what you're going to be doing, if you want to follow this, is just kind of some frequently asked questions you may see. But if I walk you through it, if I go back to this, on day three, there is shown this thing. It says the following information is found on a database research. This is a database for nucleotides. So I'm going to go ahead and select on this database. That link should be active, and this is what's going to pop up. Okay? Now, all this can be a little overwhelming. The biggest thing you need to look at is over here on the left-hand side, nucleotide blast. Select that. Now, what you're going to see in here is a little place where we can enter in some information. If I go back to my information here, day three, says you can make a search faster by restricting the database search only to viral sequences. So I want to look at certain things or select other. Okay. Now, all you have to do is just kind of work your way through it. If you do not receive hits by increasing the expected value, so on and so forth, you might be able to look at program selection. So, under Bob undergoes a CT scan, a CAT scan. It reveals a buildup of sludge in the biliary duct. Later, he undergoes an abdominal ultrasound, and ultrasound shows that internal organs are fine. Here's Lupita, figuring out what's happening to her. Here is her nucleotide sequence. All I'm going to do is select it. And I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back to my nucleotide sequence, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, so I've pasted the whole sequence in there. I can scroll on down, and I can select BLAST. In selecting BLAST, it is now thinking, it's trying to match up what's happening. So it's searching, searching, searching. All of a sudden, I figure out what's going on, nucleotide blast, and I figure out what it is that they have found. Now, at 100% certainty, one of the things that they're looking at is Homo sapien collagen. So there's my example of what they are found. They found collagen. Okay? Now, if I go back to this pathway, I maybe look at Felix's, figure out what's going on here. Copy, and again, we are on day 3 of your flowchart that you're going to be creating. I want to go back under the blast sequence. I want to select under a nucleotide blast here. I want to figure out what it is I'm looking at. I'm going to do Control V and paste his in there, and I'm going to go to blast. It's going to search, figure out what it is it's looking at. All of a sudden, I might have something else. Bacillus anthracis. Okay? I need you to keep looking through it. Your job is to go through and figure out what's happening to all of these things. Figure out what the disease is, maybe what treatments are, so on and so forth, and you are going to do a final report, which is day 5. Final report on July. Your job is to trace the path of the infection for each patient. Draw out the flow chart. Here's a flow chart. What's happening? And label unknown and speculative pathways with question marks. If you're not sure something happened, question mark it. Make sure this is done for each individual patient. I showed you the 5 before. The information will hopefully reduce the risk of future infection. For each patient, write out a primary evidence that brought you to your conclusion. It is important to rule out false positives in the line of investigation. Something may be right or maybe not. I may lead you in a little false goose chase, all right? Generally, you want multiple criteria confirmed before you actually make a diagnosis. So be sure you answer the following questions. And in your final report, you need to have identified the pathogen and the path of the infection, evidence for that path, and treatment and recommendations for those individuals. Once you're done with that, you're to answer the conclusion questions 1 through 5. So your job is to do this on Monday. If you need more time, you guys can have all of Tuesday if you need. If we're not done on that, we'll look into Wednesday. But if you are done on Monday, working through all this, on Tuesday you guys are going to be watching the video, The Killer Flu, which is based off the Spanish influenza. You're going to be watching that, and there is going to be a video guide with it.